Welcome to How to ABX. Today is Universal Hero Burn Day. It is 8/26/2023. I'll quickly just talk briefly about the rotations, then show you them in action. I'll give you more information afterwards if you want to stick around. So if you only care about the rotations, here you go. I'm going to be using Thor today, and with Thor, basically I have a rage on mine. The rotation I use is slightly spammy-like. I try to use 7 whenever it's available. I will try to use 3 whenever it's available too. I do find that if you use 3 right before doing one of your big rotations that you want to proc on, you tend to do a little bit more damage. So that's why 3 is before each of the rotations on the top there. So I will do 3. 5 is delayed until you crack the ground. 4 you let play out. 1 and 2 are fillers. 2 lets you run around the screen. So you'll see in both my rotations there. The 7, even though it's part of that second rotation before the 6, you can pretty much use 7 whenever it's available. I do need to save it today, though, for canceling purposes. One of the veteran players that's part of my Alliance neck makes this recommendation. When I've done this rotation, I tend to score a little bit less personally. He scores higher with his rotation than mine, and if you use his rotation, you can keep your procs on. So you'll proc on 4, and you'll proc on 6. So you'll notice what he'll do is he'll do a 3-5-4, 1-2 is a filler, 3-5-4 again, and then he waits till 3's ready and does a 3-6. So if you want to keep your procs on, you can try his rotation. Maybe you'll have more luck. Let me go ahead and show you mine in action, and then I'll talk a little bit more about it afterwards. All right, so I go in, switch to Thor right away, and I'm going to do a 3-5, slam the ground 4. You let 4 play out. As soon as 4 is done, he jumps in the air, 1-2. As you can see, that moves me around. I am going to wait for a second here before I do 3, and then I'm going to do 3, 4, 3, 5, 4, 6, and I do slip the 7 in there. I wait till the lightning bolts hits, and then I do a 1-2. All right, so again with the 3, 5, crack the ground 4. Now my procs are gone. Like I said, if you do the other way, you could probably keep the procs closer, but I find this works better for me personally. I am going to use the 7 right away, do a 1-2 filler, 5, 4, and 6. Wait for that lightning bolt, do a 1-2 filler. I'm going to save the 3 for just a second to be part of this rotation. 3, 5, crack the ground, 7, 4. Again, trying to use 7 as much as possible. And as long as we can charge up the 7, we're in good shape. If not, we might need to restart. So 3, 1, 2, 5, 4, 7 for the cancel, 6. So you have to play with it sometimes. 1, 2. This is what I mean. My rotation is mildly spammy. I did a 3, 5, crack the ground, 4. The main thing to keep in mind, like I said, is 1-2 is fillers. You try to do your, there's another 1-2 just to charge things up. 3, 7, 5, crack the ground, 4, 6. I like to do the 3, 5, 4, 6. Like I said, with next rotation here, he prefers to do a 3, 6. So it's up to you how you want to experiment with it, but it's good to try to keep these together. There you go. And I'm about to have him jump center, so I do want to get that 7 charged as quickly as possible. All right, so I am going to try to use some of these other skills in here. So I should be able to do a 3, 5, 4, 7, 6. There we go. Got the cancel. Lightning bolt hits. 1, 2. 3, 1, 2, 5. Crack the ground 4. 1, 2. I'm going to do 7 right now, right away. And I'm going to do a 3, 5. Crack the ground 4, 6. Wait till that lightning bolt strikes, and then 1, 2. I am going to save my 7 this time. So when I do a 3, I'm going to do a 5, crack the ground 4, because I'm close to 38, which is his last roar. 1, 2. I'm going to wait a second here, because he's going to come center. And then I'm going to do the full rotation, which is going to be the 3, 7, 5, crack the ground 4, 6. Wait for that bolt of lightning. 1, 2. All right. 3, 1, 2, 5, crack the ground, 7, 4. 7 can be done at any time because it doesn't interrupt other skills. It just calls in that striker. So don't be afraid to use that 7 as soon as it's on cooldown. 3, 5, crack the ground, 4, 6, and I'm going to put the 7 in there. I'm going to do my 1, 2 as fillers. I'm going to pop my 3 right away. 5, crack the ground, 4. Okay, so 10.2 million. Not the greatest, and with spamming, you can sometimes get higher or lower, so there is going to be some variances involved there. So again, this is just how I go about running Thor. There are different ways to do it, and there are many different rotations. So I'm going to go ahead and write the score down, 10, 0, 2, 0, 7, 5, 6, 1. Now, because there are 2 different rotations that I mentioned earlier today. I'm actually going to do one more run showing you the other rotation here that is recommended by NEC, just so you can see how the 2 play out and how you can kind of keep on with the procs. Maybe I'll score higher, maybe I won't. We'll see how that goes. So I'm going to rerun that really quick, then I'll do the additional info like I've been doing in the other ABX videos. All right, so let's go ahead and go to next. It takes me to legendary mode, so I've got to back out real quick. All right, and then we're going to hit back for just a second, go back to Alliance, challenge the record. Exact same team up, and we'll talk about that, like I said, afterwards. So we're going to do 3-5-4 like I've been doing with the 1-2. However, in this case, I'm going to do 3-5-4, and I'm going to wait and then do 3-6. So 3-6 will be outside of that secondary rotation. All right, so let's go ahead and try this again. Go ahead and hide the rotation at the top there so you can see what's going on the screen. All right, so again, 3, 5, crack the ground, 4. Let that finish. And then I'm going to do a 1-2. Now I'm not going to do anything for a second. I am going to sit and let it charge, and I'm going to do a 3, 5, 4, 7. Use 7 as soon as it's available in this rotation, unless you need to save it for, and here, 3, 6 right away. See how all the procs are on? So it does work nicely. I'm going to do a filler of 1-2 again. And then I'm going to do a 3, 5, crack the ground, 4, 7 right away, unless you're saving it for the cancel. All right, I am going to run around for a second so I can keep my procs on. So I'm going to do a 3, 5, crack the ground, 4. I am going to save my 7 because it's close to roar. 3, 6. Look at all those procs. That's how you keep your procs on. Like I said, his rotation works really nice for keeping the procs on. Then I'm going to do a 3, 5, 4. Do the 7 in there for the cancel. You always let 4 play out. He does that little jump at the end, and you do that 1-2 filler. I'm going to wait. 3, 5, crack the ground, 4. 1-2. 3, 6, throw the 7 in there because it's ready. Wait for that bolt of lightning. I'm going to do 1-2 as a filler. 3, 5, crack the ground, 4. Here's my procs. I did have a little bit of a late proc there. 1-2. Run around for a little bit. 3, 5, 4. I am going to save the 3, 6 this time. I'm going to let him jump center because he's going to be jumping center in a few seconds here. Paying attention to when he's about to roar is important. I'm going to do a 3, 5, crack the ground, 7, 4 so I can get the cancel in, and then I'll do the 3, 6. Probably would have been better if I did the 3, 6 right away because you want to charge up that 6 and use it as much as possible. But you have some options. Like I said, you got to kind of make some last-minute decisions sometimes. And that's what I ended up doing. Okay, there's the 1-2. Going to wait for a few minutes here. I am not going to use the 1-2 as a filler. 3, 5, 4, because you don't want to accidentally proc early. Controlling your procs is what this rotation is all about. 3, 6. I probably could have used the 7 there, but I'm going to save it for the cancel just in case. Yeah, because he's about to jump center with 38. So I'm not even going to do the next rotation. Oh, screw it. I'll go ahead and do the next rotation, even though he's going to jump center in the middle of this. Actually, that was smart. I got off the full rotation. Cool. And I still have my 7 for canceling. So 7 right away. 3, 5, 4. Procs are on still. 1-2. 3, 6. Procs are still on. 1-2. Use my 7 right away. 3, 5, crack the ground, 4. I might actually outscore with his rotation. He's not going to let me live this down. Yeah, I just outscored with his rotation. 3, crack the ground, 7, 4, and I'll go right in the 6 right away just to get a little bit more. So it wasn't a huge leap, but as you can see, you can keep your procs on doing that type of rotation in there. All right, so 1, 0, 3, 1, 1, 6, 8, 8. That was the highest score. So 10, 3, 1, 1, 6, 8, 8. I like to record my scores. Now let me give you the additional information. I know this is a little bit longer video than I typically do. So I'm going to come back out, talk about my account, how my characters are built, some recommendations that I have, and then go from there. So to begin with, I always like to talk about cards. People don't realize how important cards, and I probably should be showing my X swords as well. They make a huge effect because they affect everything. So for my account, I don't have really a lot of Pierce. In ABX, Pierce is not as important. I have 16% instead of 25 because I'm opting for optimal rolls with blue stars, and it's been taking me a lot longer than anticipated. So getting that 25% Pierce is very important. Your attack stats do not cap, so those are also important to do as much as you can into as well. And then you just work with your build. So based upon what random gives you depends on how you want to build your characters. Your X swords do affect all game modes as well, so I guess I will start showing those in these future videos. So here are my X swords and what I'm getting and gaining from having them. Let's look at Thor really quick, and I'll show you how I have him built. So with Thor, obviously he is a tier 4. He's a universal character. He has some Odin's Blessings. You want to amplify everything if you can, or at least have 3 to 4 amplified. If you're equipping Urus, try to at least stick with 5-star Urus, if not higher. In this case, you can see like I've got some pretty good variety, so I actually have put some work into them. Skills, always try to max out. For today, because it's burn day, Jean Grey, if you have her tier 4, is a phenomenal striker because she can cancel. There is no other way to cancel with Thor today. And if you have a... And we'll talk about alternatives in a second, like if you have Odin at tier 4, he probably can, and it looks like he's already about to outscore Thor for today. This rotation I'm showing you will work for a Rage, it will work for a Judgment, and it will work for an Anger proc. Which one is best? I tend to prefer to put Rage on my characters, but it seems like Judgment, if you have enough Pierce, does do a little bit of an advantage in ABX, where Rage seems to have an advantage in ABL. Now, I do use Thor in ABL as well, so for me, I'm sticking with a Rage. So I do have him equipped with a Mighty Rage. Mighty Rage does do that in Raged Factor, and just as a reminder, you want to max out your crit rate and your dodge rate, and you want to make sure that that damage proc there, that 0.9, is on your Rage. Unless it's, of course, brilliant, then you can get higher than that 0.9. I do have his artifact. His artifact does have him do additional damage based upon lightning resist. So it is possible to use Thor as his own lead because he has lightning resist leadership, and it will amplify his damage with his artifact. We talked about the custom gear already. ISO 8 set, pretty much any attack set is meta. Power of the Angry Hulk and Overdrive are my 2 favorite. Hawkeye's is okay as well. Basically, you're going to do extra damage when the ISO 8 set procs. Now, if you have the different sets, there are different advantages and disadvantages to them. Just read over them. I typically go with what I roll first, but I always try to stick with Power of the Angry Hulk and Overdrive because I don't typically have issues with cooldown, which is what you get from Hawkeyes. With your ISO 8 sets, make sure that they are 6-star. Make sure that they are all red. So if you get all the way awakened up, you are going to do more, and your set is going to have a higher bonus on it. So make sure you work on that. What else did I want to mention with his build? His uniform is mythic. It is Marvel Studios Thor Love and Thunder uniform. If you're curious on what those uniform options are, it is Gamora's Requiem. It is Swordmaster Classic, Adam Warlock Infinity Countdown, Daredevil Fall from Grace, and Emma Frost Hellfire Gala. So those are some of the options. What you choose and how you build them is going to be greatly dependent, again, on your cards and your overall build. Here are his stats. Always recommend for all characters attack speed, crit rate, crit damage, ignore defense, dodge, and cooldown. Those are the ones I typically try to get as high capped as possible and then dump as much as possible into whatever type of attacker they are. In Thor's case, you can see he's an energy attacker, so I want to try to pump up his energy attack as much as possible because it has no cap. So right now he's at 92,000. That will affect your score as well. As far as teams go and alternatives, let's jump back in really quick to Alliance Battle. The team that I'm using currently is Nova's Leadership. Nova does 2 things for you. He gives you 30% energy increase for all superheroes, so this affects Thor. He also has a passive right here for all hero allies. He's going to give ignore target's dodge by 25% and increase basic damage dealt to supervillains by 40%. Now, just to note this, that ability here is a passive, so he does not need to be in the leadership position to help by doing that. So this is Nova Richard Rider. Just something to consider there. I also have Angela. Angela does have her Ausgard Assassin uniform, which right now is her best uniform. She is worthy of an insight, so I put an insight on her. It is important to put an insight on one of your characters with ABX and ABL if you really want to push your score up. Her uniform does not need to be at Mythic, but I believe her uniform actually has an additional... Yeah, so superhero allies increase basic damage dealt by 40%. Damage dealt is one of the best support options in the game. All attack being increased is great, but there can be resistances. Damage dealt is what actually gets through. So having a higher percentage in what actually gets through is more important than a generalized all attack. So if you have any of the support characters, you see damage dealt, that's the skill that's really super useful and helpful. I don't remember off the top of my head if she has other passives. That only affects her. That only affects her. So basically all you're getting out of it is specifically with this uniform is what makes her good because of that 40%. And of course having the insight on her as well because she's usable with many universal characters. Alternative considerations. Surprisingly enough, even at tier 4, Scarlet Witch does phenomenal today. A lot of people have great success with her. Obviously, you want to put a Judgment or a Rage on her as well. Athena is actually pretty decent also. Athena is not as good as other characters, but if you already have her built, I don't recommend building her now, but if you have her built, she does good as well. Thor, as I had mentioned, can be outscored by Odin as long as Odin is a tier 4. Right now, his score is pretty close, but it doesn't really up it. There are other alternatives too for team up and leadership. Like for example, I had someone post in my live when I was doing a live stream on Twitch. They mentioned using Thor's leadership because of that 50% resistance and because of his artifact that actually amplifies. So you could do that instead. You could also put other leaderships up here, such as Beta Ray Bill, which does the 60%. But I find with Nova, because of that supportability, he tends to be a little bit better. Ghost Panther is a decent support, but his leadership is not really optimal for Thor. So you could use him as a leadership or as a support if you wanted to. You could also use Phyla-Vell, but Phyla-Vell's support abilities are inferior to Angela's. So now that Angela has her uniform, Angela's a better option. But if you don't have her uniform, you could also use Phyla-Vell instead. If you did use Scarlet Witch, she does work as her own leader, and this is her best uniform, Marvel Studios Doctor Strange 2. So if you are going to use her as an alternative, those are all things to consider. I find this to be the optimal team where I score the most. So that's all the additional information I have for you. Thank you for watching. May your ABX score be as high as possible. And if you like this video, consider thumb upping and leaving comments because it helps the algorithm.